Hello, everyone. Welcome back. This is Aluminum Tower. Thanks so much for joining today. I am going to be reading now for the sign of Leo, Sun, Moon, and Rising for the month of May 2026. Although these are coming out a bit later, I really just wanted to take a break, honestly. And I needed to go out, celebrate my solar return, have some lovely twisty practice in Wales and in Snowdonia, and did a bit of hiking to the top of Iadvidfa, which is Mount Snowdon in Snowdonia Erie National Park. And it was just a gorgeous, beautiful time there. So now that I feel more rejuvenated, more relaxed, I can come back and really get my bearings around the reading. So that way, as we approach June, which we are now nearly 80 days into the War of the Strait of Hormuz because of a particularly sick individual who decided to unleash war on the global population, not just militarily, but economically. We're going to probably be hitting some hard times quite soon. So that said, I would love to be all happy, happy, joy type shit today, but I'm not in the fucking mood. I'm just going to get the readings out and speak the truth and do my best to not sugarcoat what it is that we need to know. I don't deal in that realm. You know me, of course. That is obsidian if you're unfamiliar with that. Anyways, if you like what you see here, please be sure to give a like, share, subscribe, ding that notification bell so that you don't miss any updates from future postings, and also support the channel any way that you'd like to. Now, moving right on. For you, Leah, we're going to be moving into the story of the Destroyer. That is the card that I drew from the deck. Of the cards that I've arranged today, we are working with the Wild Unknown Tarot, which is one of my favorites for shadow work and healing. And then I found its lovely companion here, which is the Archetypes deck. So that is going to be the one that sets the stage for what we're going to discuss. So when we talk about the Destroyer, that is going to be a tricky one there, of course. Why wouldn't it be? Now, for the Destroyer, we talk about... give me a minute. Okay, almost there. All right, there we go. So, all right, cool, new book, new things to learn. The Destroyer, the final of the three archetypes in the trio of existence, has necessary yet painful work to do in the world. Culturally, we have an aversion to endings, and we hang on to permanence as a signifier of success. Yet the Destroyer pulls the rug from underneath relationships, jobs, homes, and all forms of security. It's the part of us that wants things to end. Its painful orientation is to uncover our true purpose. The Destroyer does not let us linger long in comforts, as it knows not much happens in that realm. With its piercing eyes, it seeks out stagnancy from a distance, and the rest becomes history. In the old myths, this is the moment where heads begin to roll. The ground opens up and castles crumble. Hold on for the ride. The Destroyer has arrived, and that's my realm. Now, if you haven't become familiar with this channel here, I probably will be renaming it. I'll make an announcement on that a bit after I finish the readings for today. I'll probably be renaming it to something that is a bit more fitting for what I talk about specifically on this channel and the themes. I am not a channel of happiness. I'm not a channel here for getting your girl or getting your guy. I'm not here to help people with all the fluffy shit that happens in life. I am a reader who deals with the sphere of Gevura, or Gevura, as you pronounce it, in the Tree of Life, which is sphere number 5. And that deals with a very specific theme, which I will leave in that post that I do in the near future. That said, a lot of my readings go towards the shit that we don't want to speak about because so many people have their heads buried in the sands. And I suppose readers like me and others who are similarly inclined are here on this planet, this realm, this dimension, if you want to call it, because we want to shake things up and we want to clear out the BS. And when BS accumulates too much, we get societies and things like what we've got right now. And it's high time that that is cleared away. So, because you have gotten the destroyer, the thing's going to happen to you as well. Now, when we speak about destroyers, we have different types of deities who are destroyers. We have people like Set. We have Shiva, which is this guy here in Indian mythology, Indian pantheon. He is the one that removes obstacles along with Ganesh. He's the one that opens his eyes and destroys the universe all in one glance. We need destroyers in our world. Samael is another one that is a major destroyer angel. And the reason for this is because we need quality control in our life. We need to test whether or not the things that we have learnt, the things that we have accumulated, and that we have built, the structures we've built in our life, are particularly sound and stable. We may think they are, and we may have become comfortable in them. And I have pulled for 3 or 4 reads, and in every single read, it's about everything's going to come apart. So whatever's taking place in society nowadays, what's going to take place on the earthly stage, I think we're in for it. And it's the people who prepare accordingly. If you want to go into the biblical sense of it, like Noah preparing the ark, those are going to be the people who outlive and outlast this time. And a lot of the people who have sat on their derriere, or whatever you want to call it, letting the world pass them by and failing to understand their responsibilities in times of both peace and chaos. These are the people who are going to be swept away. These are the people who are going to panic and then turn on themselves in the worst way possible. So it is important for us to now start to look into what's going to happen over the next 6 months, which is going to be a very difficult time for all of us. As you know, Strait of Hormuz is going to block off a lot of supplies from our creature comforts that we've built up over the digital age. So ever since the advent of smartphones, we didn't really have a lot of things we needed to worry about. There were military incursions, there were invasions, things of that nature. Like what happened in Russia, what happened in Syria, and things like that. But people generally got on. There were low-level terrorist attacks, and there were all sorts of minor things happening. This thing that's coming to us now is going to affect us all. And all of the nonsense and the removal of basic survival skills that people have engendered themselves and their children is going to determine whether or not those people continue to share the same breath as the living in the near future, because I can see chaos erupting from all of this. Now, imagine going to the pump and people are fighting over fuel and petrol and all sorts of things. Imagine when that happens again. I mean, for all of us who saw the pandemic, imagine what happens when people are fighting over basic toiletries and supplies. You go to the supermarket, there are no loo rolls again, like there were in 2020. And just imagine the kind of depravity that lives within the hearts of men and women. And we need to recognize people for who they are. They are neither good or evil in their nature. They are whatever they choose to become. No matter what you've experienced in your life, your true heart and your true nature comes out because you will it. If you choose to become a mass murderer, that's you. If you choose to become a good person despite being abused in the past, that is also you. You have a path that you choose to walk, and it's your choice alone. Now, that said, we move on to the past. I've ranted a lot about that. We'll go into the recent past, which is the Eight of Pentacles in the reverse. That is clarified by the Ten of Cups on its side. So I think in the recent past, what you were trying to do, Leo, you were moving into the period in which you were trying to get a new start in something, either financially related or related to your job. You were trying to give yourself stability and a foundation for you to work with. And it was going to bring you happiness and give you, maybe it was related to your family, or maybe it was related to something that brings you joy, but it didn't really take place. And the reason for that is because the foundation probably wasn't solid or steady enough, which is why we now have this destroyer card coming in. And I can see here we have the Six of Pentacles. It's like you ask yourself, did you give enough to this? Did you get the right resources? Did you have the support that you needed in order to make this a possibility and a reality? But it feels like you feel betrayed in that sense, that it didn't really come into fruition because you didn't have the absolute wherewithal in order to make that come to pass. When we don't feel supported in certain things, then we end up feeling resentful for that, or we may resign our efforts, our best efforts to make it come to pass. We have these two cards which talk about your present. This is the Ten of Wands and the Seven of Wands, both in the reverse. With this, we talk about giving up, feeling overwhelmed, not being able to fight the difficulty that comes through. And this is evidenced by the Two of Pentacles in the reverse. And this tells us about being overwhelmed again. Being overwhelmed in your finances, your material self, because you did have some of this in your recent past. Yeah, the Ace of Pentacles and the Seven of Pentacles, both in the reverse. Oh, there's my neighbor's fat cat again, looking out the window. Anyways, when we look at this, we have these two cards, Ten of Wands and the Seven of Wands, both in the reverse. 10 plus 7 is 18. 1 plus 8 is 9 in the reverse. It's almost like you feel like giving up. Things have become difficult. You may incur or rack up bills that may be difficult for you to tackle. It may be difficult for you to find the resources needed during this difficult transition in time, which everyone is suffering. And potentially, you may find that life is difficult to juggle and to balance because there are not enough resources available to you. However, that is not going to be the case for you, hopefully in the near future, because you have these Six of Swords in the upright. You have the Queen of Wands on its side. These typically, when you have cards that are on their side, these typically tell us about trying to get into that energy, making the effort to get into that energy. So like when you pass through the period of the Six of Swords, then you can start to gain more confidence, feel more attractive, feel more alluring, feel like you have everything that you need, feel like you can attract the things that you want into your life, things of that nature. You know, when you have the rug pulled from underneath you, as many people will have over the next 6 months, it is important for us to understand that we still have the will and the means to make things work. You may not have the confidence to do that right now, but rest assured, if you keep moving forward, you will come out on top. The outcome of this, you have the Four of Wands in the reverse, and then you have the Eight of Cups in the upright, clarifying that. You may have to move, first off. The Four of Wands in the reverse can talk about a door closing or a conduit closing, but it can also talk about moving home. And with the Eight of Cups evidencing that, I would say, yes, you're walking away from something. You're closing the door on something in the past. Maybe it was a job that you were working on or a place you were living in. But because this is an algorithm, you have to apply it to your specific life to make the program work. You can look at all of this and you can say to yourself, did I make the right decision? And am I destroying something that I feel passionate about? Did I make the right choice by moving away? Did I also make the right choice by staying somewhere? And when the foundation crumbles, you're going to allow yourself the space and the time to make things more solid and on stable ground. Any advice? So, any advice for Leos at this point? Wi-Fi? Okay. As you walk away from the familiar, the Four of Cups in the reverse also talks about missed opportunities as well. But things will feel very uneasy and unbalanced. Use your intuition to navigate the difficult procession that you have to go through, the difficult parade. I'm getting the song "Welcome to the Black Parade" from oh God, name escapes me of the band. But yeah, "Welcome to the Black Parade." My Chemical Romance, that's the one. And that song is playing in my head because the part where he says we'll carry on, that is what you're going to have to need to do as you endure the trials that everyone will face leading up to the end of this year. And as we do this, our world is so, I think that this is one of the things that becomes the balancing powers. And as I say that, I look at the two stones that I have here on my desk. This is rose quartz given to me by some mates in Appalachia. So this comes directly from the Appalachian Mountains in North Carolina. And then additionally, this is the obsidian that I received. I believe it was here in the UK. And so the two of these, I keep them here. This is kind of like the positive and negative that remind me that there are always oppositional forces within this world that make things the way they are. Why do we have to go through hard times? To help us appreciate the good times, to help us prepare, to build for the good times, and to endure challenges that build our character and development. When we don't have those things, we get today's society. We get entitled pieces of shit who have never been punched in the face. We get overspending from countries, their budgets. We get people feeling as if there's so much to go around, but they don't take care of affairs at home. The universe then takes that foundation and says, nope, I'm closing it off. Or nope, it's time to collapse that structure, that old way of doing things. And what that's going to do, it's going to allow people to recalibrate and realign whatever it is that they've been doing with their lives so that things can be done the right way. That is the Tower card, the essence of what the Tower card represents. To get us out of the devil energy that takes place with card number 15 and move into card 16, leading us to the star card 17. That is the guiding star, the true north, which is the actual thing that we need to be doing rather than the thing that we were doing in the devil energy. The tower comes through. It's almost like the light from the star just comes through and just knocks off that crown from the tower, allowing us to relinquish the ego and to come into our own. So I'm not saying that because, you're Leo, and of course everyone that's a Leo supposedly has this stereotypically bad ego. That's not what I'm trying to say. What I'm trying to say is that for you, and like many people around us, we're going to go through some difficult times. It is important for us to understand how we can navigate those so that way we are better prepared and stronger here rather than falling to pieces when things get tough. And our society does not know the meaning of tough. We have to get banged out sometimes in order for things to improve. The beatings will continue until morale improves. That's what I'm getting in my head at the moment. But Leo, that's going to be a reading for today. Hope this has been somewhat useful. If not, whatever. Thanks so very much. Until next time, love and light. Bye now.